to what we want to study in the specific scenario. So we can select a population between 20 and 30 and see how they will behave up to the end of the life. We have developed the model with accessibility in mind because we want later to include behavioral modeling and mobility. Physical activity, it is affected by the social interaction. At the moment, it is not implemented yet. And so for visualization, we just decided to use the traffic light system to see if people are active or not active or moderately active. So this model, we had just developed and validating this model now. The artifacts are depositing in the open access data repository, and we are in the process of creating a science gateway for this model. What we want to do is to share this model with health economists in Ghana, so they can use it in their codex. However, there are challenges there, because we have data specific for population in England. Can we apply this in another context? What need to be modified? So these are all challenges that we need to address. And again, for this model now, we don't speak about reproducibility of the results, so validating the experiment, but reusability of simulations. And we need to take into account the context that the experiment is going to run as well. Another example is the Shout It Now demonstration simulation, and you have it in your leaflet. This is built in a commercial simulation software, the Simulate. This is a discrete event simulation. So we have activities and queues. It is actually a queuing network. What they wanted to do, Shout It Now, it is a charity organization. They have HIV testing clinics in Western Cape, and they wanted to increase the number of people that they educate and they go and are tested for HIV. However, they need resources. They need volunteers, they need computers, so they educate people, and they wanted to do it as efficiently as possible, because of course it is a charity and we want to do it as efficiently as possible. And so they conducted a Simulate through a university, and they created a model of their process. And they managed to increase the number of people that they tested with less resources. Behind the visualization, it is the model. Simulate interface is something like that. It is a commercial package, and it is easier to create a model than the previous example, because it is drag and drop components. They have properties that they can be modified quite easily. If you want to go into more detail and build a more sophisticated model, they provide a programming language as well, so we can create more sophisticated models. But very easily we can create simple models with Simulate. So this is the Simulate in their interface, and it can be accessed in this link. It is in your leaflet as well. And when you register and you access the link, you see this visualization, which is a 3D visualization of the clinic. You can test it, so you can put different resources, and while you do your experiments, you can take the results as well. So you can have a play with a simulation on here. And this is, well, we are in simulation. We are excited of this because this is a commercial package and it is open to everybody. So it is a good step in open simulation. And yeah, this is the big picture of big simulations. So I said that we work on distributed simulations. We have different models that they interoperate. We need resources to run simulations. Simulations are stochastic experimentation, so we need many replications to have accuracy of results. So we need quite a lot of computational power there. And what is the big picture? So we have many agents of, let's take an example of supply chain in industry. We have many agents and suppliers, individual suppliers. Yes, down here. So we have many individual suppliers, and they are individual entities, agents in one agent-based simulation or maybe different models. And this can feed data to a process simulation, which is our manufacturing facility, which again, it can be one model or maybe different models that interoperate. And this again, we have the consumers at the end of the supply chain that again, they can be modeled as individual entities, as agents. So now all these models, all this process, it can be embedded in a workflow. And this is an example of a workflow in another Science Gateway framework that we worked with, WSP grade GUs. So we have one activity, we have and this activity produces something, a file that leads to the next activity. And so we can run this in parallel on cloud resources, and then collect using workflows again, either Kepler in the open science platform or the other technology, WSP grade that we used here. So we create a generator, a parameter sweep, so we run parallel many simulations, and then we collect the result. And of course, we can use then data analysis, analytics tools that we can visualize and analyze our simulations. So yeah, we are not there yet. We have some components, but not all of it. But this is the real vision. And yes, this was my presentation. Thank you very much. And this is the last one, I promise.
Anastasia, thank you for showing us what can be done. This is a great overview about start to finish what actually happens in the scientific environment. I'm going to ask for questions in a bit, but I want to ask you, you've been in this game for a long time, the simulation game. We're talking about relatively new concepts here, new ways of doing things. I'm going to ask you two questions. The hardest thing to change between the so-called old way and the so-called new way, what would you think that is?
I think it is people's perspective.
So have you found people being quite reticent to accept the work that has been done in a more open way, or does it just seem a bit odd to them?
It is a little bit, people are... Oh, sorry. Yeah, people are used to some ways, and they know it works. It is very difficult to ask them to change what they are doing. Some people, they are a little bit reluctant, maybe because of data issues. This is another issue. But I think we're getting there. And as it is a requirement for funding nowadays, it is mostly to share all the artifacts. So yes, they're either willing or they will be forced to go there.
Right. So what can you think of anything that you couldn't have done in the old way that you've been able to do this time? Something that has been enabled?
Well, for me, it is actually using more computational resources because simulations are big. We have difficulties running the simulations on our desktop computer. So having access to compute resources, this is very important for me, for this field.
Excellent. Are there any other questions for Anastasia before we move on to the closing? Right. I wasn't really expecting any questions. I know you guys are tired. You're all champions for having stuck through these 2 days. So before we close, I'd like to call Simon, the coordinator of Sci-GaIA, to officially say the last few words and put the finishing touches to the conference.
Right, well done, you've made it. So 2 days, yesterday's probably a distant memory. I just want to finish fairly quickly with a reminder and then our possible plans for the future. So Bruce gave me the title of the talk at the end of the beginning, which I always like, because every time we do a project like this, we really make a big step forward, and we've done it again in Sci-GaIA, and I can't wait for the next one. So, e-infrastructures, we know about these, complex ICT, science gateways, a window to that complex ICT, and why do we want to do it? We want to make things open to help African researchers as much as possible to raise their profile across the world. And we've had lots of discussions about this, and we've had lots of examples of it being used, or at least the components of it being used from the champions. And also we've had some fantastic talks and some stimulating discussions, and it's been great. So just to remind you, we've done our materials. All of this is available online. 124 educational materials. Please use them. We've got a new community of 213 infrastructure developers, Science Gateway developers, and 35 champions and 15 communities of practice. I'm hoping this will just keep growing. We've got lots and lots of services. We're helping people understand what repositories are. We're helping institutes to award their own DOIs. And again, it's more and more and more infrastructures and services. And then we're disseminated like crazy. I can't believe the number of workshops we've run in this project, and every one has meant we've got 60 or 70 people who've come to our workshops, and we've had more fantastic discussions there, more ideas and more innovations. And of course we've talked about the Hackfests. Those were genuinely new in this project, and Margaret identified the role of Hackfests in society, and it's great to see that they've worked in this context and generated the new 35 champions. So, our virtuous circle, we create educational materials, we train people in Hackfests, we create new services, we create new materials, we train more people, and we keep going round and round. So what are the big outcomes of this project? The e-research Hackfests and the open science commons on which they're based. But the primary idea is if you think about it, since July last year we've created 35 champions. And goodness knows where this is going to go in the future. So we will seek to continue to support the champions on their journeys. We really believe that these people are key actors and innovators, and we're going to help them to develop and influence and energize science in their communities of practice through open science and ICT. We will continue to seek to run more e-research Hackfests. I've had discussions with individuals in the last 2 days about trying to plan ad hoc events to seek small amounts of funding to make them happen. And until we get the next big program, let's keep it going. We don't have to wait for the next big program, because there are little pockets of funding available all over the place if we just look hard. We've got all the materials to run these things, so let's keep doing the e-research Hackfests and establish new partnerships. The discussions with the software carpentry people have been very, very exciting, and establish partnerships such as Africa Connect 2 to keep promoting the message across the region. And we will seek to continue to develop the Open Science Commons. There's big movements in Europe to do this, there's big movements in the States. I've already mentioned that funders are mandating this now. And we've kind of got an edge in Africa on this because we've already started the discussion. And the champions will continue that. And I put that down on purpose. It's not a technical platform, it's a socio-technical platform. And the most important part of this is the people, are the people. So we can produce technology as much as we want, but it's useless without the people to use it. So we will continue to do this with the people in mind. And then with international development, we'll seek to continue to work with infrastructure initiatives to continue to develop African research infrastructure. As already mentioned, Africa Connect 2 is a big program that's going to light up Western Central Africa. And we're very keen to work with them to give them concrete examples of successful e-science and open science projects that were made possible. We'll continue to do this with Africa Connect. We will continue to do this with UbuntuNet and WACRN to keep pushing the message out there that there is a thirst and a hunger for this ICT, and there are a tremendous number of bright people across Africa that can seriously benefit from it. So to summarise, it's been a great 2 years. The achievements speak for themselves. We've got other projects that we work with and we contribute, and I'd like to thank Omo for spelling out what we've done with Wacron and with Tandem. But the bottom message is we're not finished. You know, this literally is the end of the beginning. So we shall continue our work and look forward to meeting lots of more people like yourselves and have lots more collaboration. So thank you everybody for coming, and it's been a great couple of days.
I can hardly believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, the conference is officially over. Thank you, Simon, for all of the efforts you've put into this. Without you, and especially without A&A Travel, Anastasia and Armin, we really couldn't have done this. So yeah, there's a lot of things that happened in the background that we're extremely grateful for. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't go back to your homes and feel like you've been abandoned. We are ever present. You cannot hide from us. We really want to hear from you. If you have any ideas that you feel need to be formed or discussed in a different kind of setting, please feel free to get hold of us. With that, I close the conference, and I wish you all a very good weekend. Thank you.